A very warm welcome to all our listeners around the world. You're welcome to the Tokunbo Fernandez show, a show that promotes the true life and success stories of African and Caribbean achievers around the world. So if there's a product or initiative you wish to share, feel free to give us a call on 0788 280 9005. That number once again is 0788 280 9005. Or you can take a few seconds to visit our website at www.tonyfernandez.co.uk. It's all about promoting the true life and success stories of Africans and Caribbean achievers doing amazing work around the world. Also, feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel and share this video as we have some amazing guests every single week lined up to the rest of the year. We have a very amazing guest today in the studio today. He's a young, aspiring gentleman doing amazing things with a passion for history, culture, and creating new inventions. He was born on the 1st of May 1996 in Calabar, Nigeria. And in recent years, he's created the Efik Language App on Google Play, as well as other African language apps. And today he's here to talk about a bit about himself and about his latest products. So it's a pleasure to have on the show, after a very, very long time, Mr. Philip Akoda. Welcome to the Tony Tokunbo Fernandez show. How are you today?
Thank you, sir. I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well. It's been ages. I think
Yes,
the
it
last time
has.
I saw you was when we organized the Black History Month celebrations at Parliament a few years ago.
Yes.
And I'm very, very proud that you've been doing some amazing things ever since then. But I'm sure our listeners around the world are keen to know a bit about yourself, your background, and the things in life you're most passionate about.
Okay. Well, presently, I recently released the Learn Ethics series. That's book one and book two. But that story did not just start today because everything starts from somewhere. And it all started with my passion for reading. And when I was growing up, every time my aunties and uncles would go to the US, the only thing my sister and I ever wanted was books. So they would buy at least like 20 novels for us and they would bring back home. So we were really passionate about, reading all these books, and it really played a big role in our lives. It shaped the way we thought, it shaped the way we imagined a lot of things. And when I returned from the UK in 2018, um, I went into writing too. My mom and I were working on a book on the Inyong people in Cross River State. Then halfway through, I also started a language learning series. That's the Learn Efik 1 and 2. And the reason I started it was because I saw there was a problem too. Back then in 2017, I still realized that problem, and that was why I created the first Efik Language Learning App. But I realized that it was more than just creating apps really, but it was about making an impact to in the educational system here. Efik is taught in primary schools here and secondary schools, but the number of schools that have been teaching it have been diminishing because of the low quality of textbooks and the number of teachers. There aren't so many teachers that teach it anymore in schools, and it really is a problem. And so, in order to solve that problem, I had to look at several ways. I had to talk to a lot of people, carry out a lot of research as to what was actually going on. I even got like an ethic teacher when I was jogging in my morning jog. I passed the school and I was like, let me check if they have an ethic teacher there. And I reached out to the teacher, and he started teaching me. But I noticed that sometimes, because at least I had a bit of basic knowledge about alphabets and so many other things or in ethic. And whenever he taught me, I noticed he had a lot of constraints. So he would give me these textbooks, and they were really difficult for me to read on my own. And sometimes I found them boring too. So I was like, okay, I have to do something about this, because I realized, I compared it. I was like, how come when I was learning French in secondary schools, the textbooks were really interactive, interesting, but whereas we don't get to see those kind of textbooks in IFOC. So that's when I started doing a little bit of writing. And at first, I just started compiling a couple of images, and I wasn't so sure if I was really going to do it, but my sister encouraged me to as well. My family has always been a support for me, a big support, and I'm really thankful for them, because honestly, sometimes the little thing such as supports go a long way for people. You know, when people believe in you, it really means a lot. And so took a lot of research, and I had to bring up a team, because I never work alone on these type of projects, because I realized that the more heads, the more people we bring together to share ideas, the more we can create something that's beautiful. And I got a young man, Archibong, who helped me with the curriculum. So we had to look at it together and realize that what do we want in terms of a great syllabus. And we realized that there were a lot of constraints with the current EFOC syllabus in schools too. It's based on a 1996 curriculum, and it really needs a lot of review, because if people are still using something as old as 1996 in the present now, it's a problem, because we have to keep on updating ourselves. So we incorporated a lot of elements into these things. And then I had to get an illustrator. And then I had to start thinking back as to what made the books I read when I was younger exciting. So I incorporated a lot of cartoons, games, puzzles, basically a lot of colors too. And sometimes the thing about colors is that they can be really expensive when you want to publish, because the publishers charge more when you're publishing in colors. But I was insistent with the publisher when he asked, "Oh, are you sure you don't want this in black and white?" But I was like, "No, it has to be in colors," because we've done a lot of black and white books for like more than let's say over 70 years since the first literature books were written. But we live in the 21st century, where books these days, their features are lively and colorful. So um, I had to incorporate all these elements. And then I now started thinking of other things too, such as videos and online repositories, because about 10 years ago, or about 12 years ago, a lot of language learning books usually came with CDs, but you don't see so many people use those, the traditional discs anymore. So I had to incorporate an online link on the book. It's in the how to use the book. And when people click on that link, they have access to an online repository where they see a lot of videos and extra language learning resources. So the book is basically targeted for schools, such as secondary schools. And one thing, I'm not supposed to actually say this, but the principals I've shown it to, some of them actually didn't do EFIC in their schools, but once they saw the book, they were like, we have to bring back EFIC. And that was really a moment for me, because I was like, wow, this actually is actually slowly bringing a revolution we haven't seen for a long time, really. The fact that IFOC is being brought back into schools, hopefully. So it's something that it's one of my passions, really, in terms of like reviving culture and language, especially as IFOC has really played a big role in my life. My mother maternally is IFOC. My mother is an IFOC woman, and she basically, because of all the impacts and care and so on that she's put in my life, I felt like, okay, I have to give back to the community, apart from the fact that I grew up in Calabar too. So
That's
yes,
fantastic.
that's it.
So before we talk more about how people can get hold of this book and your amazing revolutionary creations, you also created the first Efik language app on Google Play. Now, what was the general reaction from the general populace like from that? And how did that inspire you as well to your current initiative with the Efik Learning Book today?
Yeah, well, the Learn IFOC app on Play Store, it's whenever since we released it, It's really had a big impact in the social media space because the Learn Efik the app is one that before you have to access it online, you first need a phone. And so many people, we had quite a lot of people that used the app, and it was really inspiring. There was a time in Calabar when I was in a taxi, and then on a guy's phone I saw the app and I got excited, like, oh my god, this guy has my app
Wow.
on the phone too as well. So it really created an impact, and I believe I'm still working on other projects too as well, because I really do believe that if we are to develop languages, that we also need to understand how to preserve them. Sustainability measures such as online apps and softwares, because these days everyone has a smartphone and people are too busy to say they're going to get a teacher to actually sit them down and teach them the language. So we want to make it easy for independent learning. Those are some of the my objectives when I do some of these projects, such as the Learn Efik book or the Learn Efik app. I'm trying to promote independent learning to make it easy for anyone from any part of the world to learn the language. Because I can imagine there are people who live outside Calabar and they wouldn't teach Efik in outside there. So the only other way they can learn it is via these online resources, from softwares to language apps, dictionary apps, and online classes, etc. So
Now,
it's
for the benefit of all our listeners listening around the world today, who are not Efik, or who are not even Nigerians, who are the Efiks, and what personal qualities make them stand out in comparison to other regional groups in Nigeria?
well, the for someone who is not of an Ifuk background or is not a Nigerian, the reason why there's so many reasons why they should learn the Ifuk language, because the Ifuk language is one that I would say, for starters, not even the language first, but the history itself. It has one of the richest archives, historical archives in sub-Saharan Africa, because we've been so fortunate to have so many records, and the language was actually first written, a glossary of the language was actually first compiled in 1812 by an Efik chief. Over 120 words were documented by this Efik chief. And you can see the difference between the words he had compiled in 1812 and the present day words. There isn't much difference, but you can still see a few differences. And then later on in 1862, we had the first, actually not 1862, because that's a mistake that's being made by so many historians. The first Efik dictionary was actually in 1849. So that's over 150 to 170 years ago. So you can imagine that's a language that has gone through so much, and there's been so much literature and so many contributions to the language. So it's a language that has some Bantu characteristics, the Bantus which are located in the southern part of Africa, and it also has Sudanic characteristics. So it's a fascinating language for the academics, for non-academics, anthropologists, etc. Because apart from the books I write and apps I also develop, I also edit Wikipedia pages, and I recently had to incorporate a lot of this type of information on the Efik language Wikipedia page. So you have information there. If one was to look it up, you would find information on the history of the language, the phonology, the vocabulary, the other external influences, because the Efik language did not just spring up from the ground. It's one that has imbibed a lot of foreign words too, some Portuguese words, some English words, some Efut words, that's the Bantu words, some Ejagam words, and so many other words too. So you find so many intricacies, even some Igbo words too as well. You have things like Amasi, which is a word for king, which we usually use. It originates from the word Mazi. So you have so many beautiful things about the Efik language, and even in the literature is so inspiring. My favorite part of Efik literature is the bards. The bards are like poems where, like, it's kind of like epic poetry. You talk about things, legends and so on, all incorporated in these bards. So it's a beautiful language that is so rich. I mean, I can't even begin to describe how rich it is, but it's just really rich.
And I'm sure now our listeners around the world are dying to have a feel of your products, the books itself. Do you have copies of you right now with you?
Oh, yes. This is book one, and this is book two. There's actually, I actually designed the cover photo myself, and I had a lot of, I don't know, some sort of inspiration when I thought about the cover photo. Most people may look at it and there was someone that was like, it doesn't really have like if a person written on it, maybe someone dressed, but there are some symbolisms behind this cover photo. The sky here and the sun, it shows ascent, a rise which we need at the moment, a revolution. And that's why we have the words Efik. And if you notice, there's a rocket there. The rocket is going upwards. And then you now have the words up there. So it's basically my definition of a revolution, something that is rising from the ground and beyond the skies too. There's also a bit of symbolism in the colors of the books too. I'm someone who loves a little bit of riddles, so I like to incorporate these things there. So for someone who's deep into the Efik language and culture, they would be able to decipher what the colors mean and so on. But I'll leave
So
that for
obviously,
them.
you've put so much depth, imagination, and creativity into these amazing books. We're so proud of you, Philip. Now, if our listeners around the world, the ethics around the world, or people of other regions want to get hold of these books, whether in Calabar or any parts of Nigeria or whether online, what should they do?
Well, I'm currently working on the logistics at the moment. The copies are already in Port Harcourt as we speak, and by this evening they should arrive Abuja. So I'm also making plans to have some copies sent to the US too as well. So it's currently going a bit slowly, but it will get to the different areas too as well. So I'm working on the logistics to make sure that it gets around and it's easily accessible, because I really do want the book to make sure that a lot of people have it, because it's really easy for anyone to use it. With this book, anyone can write a book. It's not just about speaking it, but writing it. People forget that just as speaking a book is important, writing it and knowing how to use the different symbols in Ifok is very important too.
Now, if people want to get in touch with you, thank God we love it. We live today in a world of social media. So if people want to make pre-orders in advance, but they want to get in touch with you specifically, what do they need to do?
They can reach me on my social media handles. On my Facebook, it's Philip Nosa Adam, and my email address is philipakoda@yahoo.co.uk, and I also have my personal line too. Am I allowed to give my personal line
Feel free.
as well? So that's 0816 305 3062. So I'm easily accessible, and if anyone needs a copy, I'm always ready to find a way to get that copy to them wherever they are, even if it's Australia.
Fantastic. And we're always proud of the amazing stuff you're doing at the moment. Thank you for this new creation, Efik Language Books Learning. And I hope you get the necessary support, not just from our community, but also by associations and people willing to promote our culture, our history, and to make it a better place. On a very final note, what message do you have for all our listeners around the world today?
I believe in that there are two things that actually help people get things done: commitment and passion. They may seem like little things, but they're really important. If you're committed to something, you get it easily done. If you're passionate about it, it even adds the fuel to it, because when you're passionate about something, things happen to also get done too. Perseverance is also important, because if I did not persevere on this project, there were nights when I would stay up the whole night to work on this project. If I didn't have commitment, passion, and perseverance, I wouldn't have gotten this project done. So if you're working on a project out there, if you have your commitment, if you have passion, if you have perseverance, you will sail through and you'll get any project done.
How important would you say passion is in making us more fulfilled human beings and giving back to humanity?
It's very important. I mean, passion is like the fuel in a car. If you don't have passion, that car can't move. So it's what keeps you going. It's what makes you never to give up. No matter if you're in a low position at the moment, you feel like, oh, you can't go on anymore. It's that passion when you think about what the aftermath of your project, of what you're working on is going to be like, you'll be like, yes, I have to definitely go on no matter what. So passion is really important.
Keep up the amazing work. We're very, very proud of you. And I'm sure your book is going to go places and will continue to promote our history, our culture, and better things to come. Keep up the amazing work.
Thank you, Uncle Tony.